For the longest time, technology was just another line item on a budget, a cost to be managed. But that's completely changed. Today, it is the engine of the business. So the big question is, how do you actually prove that? In this explainer, we're going to break down exactly how to measure the real, tangible financial return of your tech investments.
And that really boils down to this one central question that every single leader needs to be asking themselves right now. For decades, IT was just a cost of doing business, right? But the game has totally changed. So you have to ask, is your tech department a cost center that just drains resources, or is it a value driver that is actively creating growth?
I mean, let's be honest, the old view was painful. It meant slow, manual processes, a super high risk of things breaking, and money just disappearing into a black box with no clue where it went. Well, that's just not acceptable anymore. The new mandate, the new standard for survival really, is all about speed, rock-solid stability, and being able to prove the financial return on every single dollar you spend.
Now, this creates what feels like an impossible choice for a lot of leaders. You're being told to go faster, innovate, beat the competition, but don't break anything. Oh, and improve quality, but also keep costs from spiraling out of control. It's this exact tension, this exact dilemma that DevOps, when you look at it as a business strategy, is specifically designed to solve.
Okay, so how do we actually measure all this stuff? Well, to prove the value of our technology, we have to stop talking like engineers and start speaking the language of the boardroom. Let's dive into how we can translate technical performance into cold, hard profit. And the big breakthrough here really came from Google's research, which gave us what are called the DORA metrics. Now, I want you to think of these 4 numbers as the ultimate dashboard for your company's innovation engine. They give the C-suite a super simple but incredibly powerful view of how things are really performing. The first 2 metrics, they are all about one thing: speed. Deployment frequency tells you how often you're actually getting value out into your customers' hands, and lead time for changes, this one is absolutely critical. It measures the time from the moment a developer commits a line of code to the moment that idea is live and making you money. Together, these 2 define your real agility in the market.
But look, going fast is totally useless if you're constantly breaking things. That's where stability comes in. The change failure rate measures how often your releases actually create new problems, which is a direct hit to your quality and a huge source of hidden rework costs. And mean time to recovery shows how fast you can bounce back when things inevitably go wrong. That right there is everything for business resilience and keeping your customers' trust.
Now, what's so powerful about this is how it perfectly translates these technical ideas into business terms that everyone understands. Deployment frequency isn't just a number, it's your rate of value delivery. Lead time isn't just about code, it's your time from idea to revenue. This is how you bridge that gap between the engineering team and the executive suite. It's a common language.
Okay, so that's the what to measure. Now let's get into the how. How do we actually do this? Let's take a look at how a platform like Azure DevOps gives you the tools to drive these numbers up and turn your tech team into a true innovation engine.
This right here is the engine room of the whole operation. By automating the entire pathway from a developer's keyboard to the customer, what we often call a CI/CD pipeline, you get rid of all those slow, error-prone manual steps. This relentless automation is exactly how you dramatically shrink that time from idea to revenue. But speed without direction is just chaos, right? It's absolutely crucial that all this new velocity is pointed at the right business goals. That's where tools like Azure Boards come in. They make sure everyone, from the executive team setting strategy all the way down to the individual developer writing code, is aligned and working on what matters most. So, all of this sounds pretty good in theory, but, as they say, the proof is in the pudding, or, in this case, the numbers. Let's look at a real-world case study of a financial services firm that actually put these ideas into practice. The results are pretty staggering. So by implementing Azure DevOps, this firm slashed its release cycle time by 45%. They went from taking 10 weeks to get a new feature out to the market all the way down to just 5.5. I mean, can you imagine what that kind of speed does for your competitive advantage?
And they didn't just get faster, they got way more agile. They went from these slow, super risky monthly deployments to being able to release new value whenever they wanted, multiple times a day if they had to. That's a more than 20-fold increase in their ability to respond to the market. Incredible.
Now, this one is huge. By building automated testing right into their pipeline, they got 70% better at catching defects before they ever reached a customer.
This meant that nearly 90% of all bugs were found and fixed internally, which is just massive for protecting the customer experience. And this chart, wow, it just says it all, doesn't it? Their change failure rate, the number of times a new release actually caused a problem, plummeted. It went from 1 out of every 4 releases causing an issue down to less than 1 in 20. That is a massive boost in stability and the kind of reliability that builds deep, lasting customer trust.
And here's where the rubber really meets the road. All of these operational wins translated directly to the bottom line. Productivity shot up, letting them deliver more value with the exact same team. Costs went down thanks to way less rework, and their risk was drastically reduced, protecting their revenue and their brand reputation.
So, this all leads to the final and most critical question, right? How do you apply this to your business? Let's walk through a simple framework you can use to start estimating the potential ROI for your own organization.
Here's a really simple 3-step framework to get started. First, you've got to know where you are today. Establish your baseline by gathering data on those 4 DORA metrics. Second, start to identify and quantify the hidden costs of inefficiency, the time your team spends on manual work or fixing failures. And finally, you model the potential gains. Just apply the improvement percentages we just saw to your own numbers. This gives you an incredibly powerful starting point for building your business case.
And that really leaves us with this one final thought. In today's market, the ability to deliver value faster and more reliably, it isn't just a nice-to-have advantage anymore. It is a fundamental necessity for survival. The evidence is crystal clear. So the question is no longer if you should make this investment. The real question is, how quickly can you afford not to?